need to know everything. Who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me.
Much like Brandon Ingram versus the Mavs, it's cold as hell outside. Let's get this thing going. It's State of the Pels. Let's get the panel in here.
That's tough. That's tough.
What's going on, guys? Listen, we back. Panel looks a little different tonight. I think we had last week we had Dylan and Dave. Y'all might get some different faces every time, kind of like the Pels. Sometimes the guys you don't expect to go off. Sometimes you think are going to kill it, don't. So hopefully we can bring it tonight. But I got Dylan and Jacob. What's going on? How we feeling?
Bless, brother. Good, brother. I like the cold, so I'm good. How you doing, Jacob? Pels press.
Bro, it's too cold. It's way too cold. Way too cold. Not a fan.
I like Jacob, let me ask you, man. I'm always trying to introduce you on this thing, and I never I always just say Jacob. I think I said JP one time. Should I just say Pels press? What is the aura, the enigma? What should I be going with?
You do what you want, really. The Pels press is the brand, but I mean, call me by name, you know.
I got you.
Oh yeah,
I got you. Well, let's get into it instead of the small talk.
Call me by name, you know.
Yeah.
That was like
all
one
right.
of those. Hold on. Do you remember those the memes that's going around? We're gonna get into it because I know you guys came to hear about the Pelicans. But do you know that meme that's going around like the "If I Was an R&B Singer" meme, and their like faces are drenched in water and they like tap their face with a towel? Y'all have not seen that meme? Oh, I gotta put it in the chat.
I haven't, but you know what?
I gotta put it in the chat. Go
now. Now I have a question, and this is how we're gonna roll into Pelicans talk here. If there was one player from the Pelicans roster that you feel like would be an R&B singer, which one would it be? It's got. I know who it is, but I'm gonna leave it up to y'all first.
CJ's the only correct answer, in my opinion, because Herb probably listens to soul music like Cool Train or something, Cool in the Gang or something. That's what I would say, CJ.
Okay.
I kind of think Trey, to be honest with you. I know it's kind of out, but I would definitely say Trey. He's got that old style school swag a little bit. I don't know.
You know what's funny? I didn't consider that. Y'all are both right. Like, both of those are valid points. My immediate reaction, like no lie, is Zion Williamson. Nobody loves a big brother with a deep voice that can sing. I mean, nobody dislaps. I said it all wrong. Nobody loves him more than somebody like him. Somebody just working up that sweat, like you said, wiping the sweat from his brow. He got that really deep, you know what I'm talking about? Like very white. Situation. Like, I'm just saying, man. Like,
yeah,
and we know he's a lover.
He would take over some clubs in Dallas for sure. I believe it.
We know he's a lover. Let's talk real Pelicans basketball talk. Now that we've gone off the rails in the first 10 minutes here. Man, we looked good against the Mavericks in game one. Jordan Hawkins showed out. And then game two, with everybody back, it kind of – we were in it, but it kind of fell off the rails. So let's start there. What do we think happened? Let's just dive in. I'll give it to you first, Dylan, and let you continue to sing the praises of Hawk. But we'll see where the conversation goes.
Well, the first game was the Jordan Hawkins show, and I'm proud of it. But not just that, and being in all seriousness, it was a JV game. It was a Jordan Hawkins game. We really got to see the depth of the Pelicans in that first game. And I know you guys hear me wax poetically about Jordan Hawkins all the time, so much so y'all probably are sick of it. But it was just good to see him get his full-fledged opportunity and get the reins taken off of him, and to see him fully show you what he's capable of completely. I mean, mid-range game, three-point game, defensively, rebound, so many different things that he showed us. But I really love what I saw from JV more than anything, that first game. That second game, I'm going to say something just straightforward, Jacob, and I'm going to pass to you. This is the NBA. It is extremely hard to beat an NBA team 2 times in a row in their home gym. It is extremely hard. That's why you get home. That's why home court advantage is such a highly sought entity or commodity in the NBA playoffs. And so with that, I'm not looking at that loss and I'm saying like, oh my goodness, this is the worst thing in the world. I'm looking at, as you said, Brandon Ingram shot 3 for 12 or something like that from the field. And, Zion was Zion in, but we have to put more respect on Kyrie Irving's name. Like I am a AI stan, but Kyrie Irving is the most skilled, honestly, probably the most skilled player we've ever seen in the NBA. Like
That's a crazy take.
All around skill. I didn't say talent. I said skill. There's a difference between talent and skill. There's an individual who could be skilled to do multiple different things, but not be extremely talented at multiple different things. There's a difference, my brother. I didn't say he was Michael Jordan. I said he has the capability to do more things on the floor than most people you see. That's just my opinion. But I really think with us looking at this game, this was Tim Hardaway Jr. shooting the lights out and Kyrie Irving reminding us why he's one of the greatest of all time. So that's just my opinion. What you think about it, Jacob?
I think this. So for Christmas this year, I don't know if you guys ever got in trouble growing up. I used to like dribble a basketball inside all the time. Like mom would get mad, everything like that. So I got this basketball for Christmas. Okay. It's like completely foam. Like you can dribble it. It's awesome. It's one of the coolest gifts ever. I dribble around the house. I mess with the dog and everything like that. And this ball, it kind of works. Sometimes it kind of acts like a basketball. You have to dribble it a little bit harder inside. You obviously, like, I've got a goal outside and everything like that. You can't like shoot it or anything like that. But sometimes it acts like a basketball. Okay. Sometimes it's pretty dang close. And the Pelicans, they need to decide if they want to be a successful basketball team or not. Because sometimes they act like a successful basketball team. Sometimes they beat teams that they should beat. Sometimes they lose to teams that they should not lose to. We have a lot of players, a lot of coaches, and generally I would say a lot of people in the organization who are okay with being sometimes players. Sometimes they show up. Sometimes they show up and coach. Sometimes they show up and play. Sometimes they show up in the front office, whatever it is. I think that there have been several times this year where you just kind of walk away and you're like, man, is it ever going to all click? Because we went on a run, right? We went on a run where we hit a lot of games in a row, and we went on a run where everyone was playing well. B.I.'s in a slump. I don't fault him for that. Everybody goes through it. Zion looked really good the other night against the Mavs, even though we took a loss. Got to hit your free throws as always. But I really do think that as good as the Pelicans are, they're on pace for like 45 wins, I think, this year.
48
wins this year. And even that doesn't seem – it's good. It's obviously better than the Pelicans have done. But I think so much that the Pelicans' ceiling and floor to a degree is a little bit higher than what they've showed so far this season. Because we've seen glimpses, but we haven't consistently seen the high level of play that you need to compete for a championship, for a Western Conference Finals, for a second round or first round playoff. Like we haven't consistently seen it. I know that we're the 5-6 seed or whatever, but I just really, really, really want more. And I hate to say that because of how well they have been playing at times. But I just think that this team has another level they can unlock. They just haven't yet. And I don't know why we consistently aren't putting together the long stretches and stuff like that.
When you say that, you say you want more, Jacob. I'm trying to track with you, but you lost me a few times because you gave a super cool basketball analogy and then you went left. So I was like, oh, he's going to take me somewhere. And then you full on Sunday morning pastor me, and then you went out the Bible and went somewhere else. What does that more look like for you? Or I mean, outside of this team has in the first half of the year, they have 2 4-game winning streaks that they started relatively close to each other. And outside of the moments where we see Zion in and out of the lineup, and it is statistically proven that Zion actually, after coming back from a rest game, that's usually his worst game. But we saw different than that this last game against the Mavericks. So I'm intrigued to know, what is that more from you that you're looking for when you look at this Pels team?
Consistency. And I think that's what everybody says, everybody wants, but consistency from your stars, consistency from your coaching, and consistency all around the game of of basketball and playing the NBA franchise game. Like, there are games where we come in to the Smoothie King Center or, an away game, and you genuinely, like, in years past, you would hope for a win. And maybe the worst thing the Pelicans could do is now, as fans, you almost expect a win because of the roster that's put together, how they played, and some of the other things. But I really just genuinely, not even just from a fan standpoint, but from like a basketball, a lover of the game of basketball, this team really, really does have all the pieces. And the most frustrating thing for me this season has been how healthy we are, and really still how inconsistency has consistently popped up. The only consistent thing about us is that we are inconsistent. Because I can't remember who said it, and I said it in our podcast this past week with Miles, is that, like, a really great point, a really great tweet somebody put out is that when the going gets rough, or the games that we struggle the most in, everybody wants to play like buddy ball, right? Is that, I'm not going to assert myself, I'm not going to be the star here or there. And I think that having 2 1A or 1B type stars, that's where I think we might get into some trouble come playoff time, especially.
I agree. I was actually just thinking that as you were going through that point before you got to the end, I was like, we don't, and I think I've said this before, we don't have that alpha. You would think you do, right? But when the whole team is healthy, it's almost like everybody's just waiting on somebody else to do it.
The guy with the most alpha mentality is Jordan Hawkins that we've seen, like, on the court. And that's crazy. And I don't think that's a crazy take either. But, like, he came in the other night and was shooting the lights out, right? And he, like, let you know. He let you hear it. And, like, we have this expectation, right? And, like, Dylan's been on this Jordan Hawkins train forever, right? Is that, like, you saw Hawk was starting and you're like, he's getting 20 shots. Like, he's getting 25 shots. Like, he's getting his, right? And, like, there's a point where, all the 3 guys right now who are shooting the most, there's like 20 attempts per game. It's like some games you'll have 20, some games you'll have 15 because other players take, like, Giannis has his shots. Like, he knows he's going to get 25 shots, right? You've got the same thing with, like, Devin Booker, the same thing with, like, AD, with Steph. Like, you are really missing that guy who's just like, this is my team, right? And I think that's where we're really at.
But I think we have it. I just think it's not the sexy pick. Like, I think statistically, again, I love stats. I don't like arguing or giving a point if stats don't really back it up. When CJ McCollum takes a high amount of shots, usually winning is a result. And I know we don't like that because that takes away from our star guys. And it's like an asinine thought of, why is CJ the one? But if you look at the stats and if you look at the trajectory, give you an example. That game, the second game against the Mavs, the Pelicans came out atrocious. 15 went into, I think it was went into halftime with a lead, but it was like a 15-point deficit. And then CJ McCollum rammed off 5 points straight, just instantly, boom, boom, just quick. CJ McCollum has the ability to be that guy. The issue with it is it's not the sexy take because we know the ceiling of Zion Williamson. We know what he could be, and we know who Brandon Ingrams can be. Now, we have to decide and I said this, I can't remember where, what matters more? Like, is winning the main thing? Because if winning is the main thing, the sexy factor should go out the window. I think about, you brought up Giannis. I can't remember. I think it was you, Jacob, who brought up Giannis, or one of you two brought up Giannis. Giannis is not taking the last shot ever, and he is the unquestioned 1A on that team. Like, there's no person on planet Earth that would say that. I don't even care that Dame is on that team. You ask Dame who's the 1A on that team, he might try and be Dame and be swagged out. It's me. It's my time. But in his head, he like, nah, that 7-foot behemoth, this the cat. That's what it is. But Giannis probably won't ever take a last shot in his life. So I think it's less about the who's 1A and it's more about who's God gifted to take that last shot. We saw Chris Middleton taking last shots when Giannis was Giannis, averaging 30 MVP. So I really feel like we have that in CJ. It's just that we aren't willing as a fan base to lean into the fact that some nights Brandon Ingram might not have it. He might not be Phoenix Suns in the playoff series, Brandon Ingram. But CJ can hit a big shot for you. So I think we have it. I mean, Zion told you he's not it. I mean, I hate that. I don't know if you guys saw that quote that he came out and said, but that was a tough listen as a Zion fan. That was a tough listen to hear him say straight up. Like, when I miss a shot or two, I just kind of get in my head and I stop and I don't want to shoot anymore. Like, that's like 1C mentality. That's not even 1B mentality. And so when you got 1A talent but 1C mentality, you're 1C at the end of the game. That's why the Pels are 0-6 in games that come down to one possession. It's because your 1A talent guy has a 1C mentality. And so I really think you have that in CJ. He's been with Dame and he's been around Dame. But could you lean into that? And is that something worth leaning into to close games? Or is that too terrifying of a thought?
It's definitely unsexy. I think my first thought is, does that, you talked about ceilings, like your ceiling is higher with BI and Zion. Does, like, and then you said winning is all that matters, right? Or in my opinion, winning is all that matters. Does that kind of take away from, like, is it counterintuitive? I know that you're backing it up with stats, but like in the long run,
no,
is it counterintuitive?
No, because does Chris Middleton closing games takes away from Giannis's greatness?
No.
But
No.
I think that even if I think in that analogy, we're talking about the Bucks, right? When Giannis was having 30, everyone knew that Giannis was going to get 30, right? Everyone knew that Giannis was going to get 35, whatever. That's what I'm saying. We don't have that guy.
So Zion,
even if it's CJ taking more shots, I still don't think that.
No, so now we are getting to a place where we're punching at the sky. Zion might not have shown you that person, and if you look at his, obviously we have a small sample size of Zion. We're going to be blessed if we can see him in the middle to late February. Come on, y'all. I didn't add it to my prayer card. But anyway, when we see Zion at peak Zion, he gives you that 30. Like, it's a walking 30. It's a walking 25. It's a walking 27 when healthy. The issue is he's like a firecracker. He burns so bright, but when he burns out or blows something out, God forbid, then you're like, dang, well, that was cool while it lasted. Let's go try and buy another one. And so I think we have that guy. And Brandon Ingram was having a career year, guys, before he went through this slump that is extremely long. I mean, he was having a career year in multiple different facets. Jacob, you brought it up multiple times in the chat. Is the cat worth 40, 50 million? And we all were adamantly like, yes. And so I really feel like we have that guy to carry you to the promised land. I'm just not sure that our 1A and 1B are the guys right now that consistently can carry you over. That's why I think they can, but I don't think it's on them to consistently be that end of the game closer guy. That's just my opinion. It's just what I think. I'm wondering, if you think about it, just to take it a step further, how many teams in the league would you say actually have that guy that you're like, end of the game, give him the ball, he will win us the game? I could think of Denver. I could think of Phoenix. I haven't seen Tatum or Brown hit that shot yet, but I think Tatum has the talent to. I mean,
I don't know how bold this is. I don't think it's bold at all. Do you consider Gilgeous-Alexander?
Yes. Okay. He's hit it. That's not bold at all. He's hit those shots.
I mean, you can go just go down like the list of like the 10 or whatever. I mean, you've got like Luka's obviously going to shoot his shot. You got Steph in Golden State's obviously going to.
But they're not even in the playoffs right now, though. Like, I mean, but
you're asking about guys in the league, right? You're asking about guys in the league, right? So like Joel's going to be that guy. Joel is obviously that guy for the Sixers right now. And I think there's some more arguments out there at the moment. Like, I think you could probably argue that Ant is the guy for Minnesota. Yeah. I think you could probably argue that Tyrese is the guy for the Pacers right now.
I was waiting for you to say that. Is Tyrese he's hit some deep threes when some dudes have played off on him. Do you see Tyrese Halliburton breaking the guy down, pulling up mid-range? I don't see it.
No,
And
but I
haven't
think that
seen
his
it yet.
gravity is the same as a guy like Kyrie. Like, I mean, for the Pacers right now, I mean, if you are keying on Tyrese Halliburton before you're keying on anybody else, icing screens, bluing screens, whatever you want to call it, like he is the motor of that offense. And the other night when Luka was out, right, like Kyrie's obviously the guy you're going to focus on in the most in that situation. Like, I do think there's an argument. I think there's a lot of fringe guys, but I think there's probably 8 that are definite. And that's a quarter of the league, right? That's 25% of the league. And those 25%, like that quarter of the league are the people that pretty often consistently compete for championships. And like, that's not even getting to guys like, LeBron and AD in the Lakers or whatever. Like, I mean, I don't know.
Right. Whatever's happening in the other LA team with the Clippers. Harden's coming back into his own.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's tough. I don't know. What you smiling at? I see you looking at
He's
your
doing
phone
math.
smiling at something.
Nah, I mean, I heard Jacob say 8, and then he said that's 25% of the league, and I was confused. So I was like,
what is it? What is it? 30?
There's 450 guys on the team. I didn't know that 8 was 25% of 455. But go with your move, boss man.
I think
We're
you're
talking
talking teams.
Talking about teams, bro.
Each
Oh,
team,
I thought you
8
said
teams.
8.
You said you started this
I
off.
thought
How
you
many
said
teams
players.
have guys that know
I
you're
thought
going
you
to
said play. No, I thought you were talking players. My bad. I was confused. I was about to say, let's have a prayer gathering. I don't know what's going on. My brother's mad.
All right, so moving forward though, so I think we're all in agreement. They've been inconsistent, right? We don't know who the alpha is, or if you listen to Dylan, maybe it should be CJ.
No. I'm not saying he should be the alpha. I said he could be a closer. I don't think this team has an alpha. Let me put that out there, full disclosure.
I feel that. With that being said, though, what are the next steps? Like, I'm always thinking, like, okay, how do they get over the hump, right? Is it a lineup thing? You look, if we want to do like a Streets is Talking thing, I've been seeing tweets everywhere. If you look at the lineups, like the Pelicans' official starting lineup has one of the worst net ratings, or maybe the worst net rating in the NBA. Is it a lineup thing? Is it a trade thing? Trade deadline's coming up. Which way do you want to go with this? What jumps out about those two questions, and which one do we want to dive into?
I think the Pelicans need better guards. I think they need a point guard, and I've said that for months and maybe years at this point. But they need a point guard. It just kind of is what it is. Like, especially how awful are we at late game, clutch time, clutch game situations? Like, we have a losing record, and in a lot of different ways. Just I think they need, like, and I said it a couple of I definitely said it, I think 2 years ago now, that I really wanted them to get Mike Conley, and you see Mike Conley, what he's doing for the Timberwolves, but like they need a guy like that. And I love CJ. I really do. I think he's a really good compliment to Zion and BI and the rest of the team, but he just does not have those consistent point guard skills that a guy like Conley, that a guy like, I mean, even like you can go to some of the young guys like Halliburton and stuff like that, where you kind of need just a little bit more playmaking ability. And I think that's where the late game lineups kind of fall short, is that you need the guy that can play make just a little bit more.
D?
I agree with what Jacob said. I think a backup point guard. I think I'm still on the Grace train with the starting lineup. I don't know. I just feel like it's starting to come together, and we're finally seeing Zion become Zion. And like, I'd like to see Zion fully in shape, Zion with BI out of his slump, and see what that looks like with what we have. I do think we need a backup point guard, like a traditional backup point guard, a guy that can come in, facilitate the offense, hit the open three, and be a sound defender. If DeJounte Murray didn't cost so much, I would say somebody like that, or somebody like Tyus, or someone like that. That's just a sound floor general. And I really think you saw it against the Mavericks. And guess what? The NBA is a copycat league, just like every other professional league. Derek Lively showed you the cheat code to beating the Pelicans. Just outwork their post in the post on the boards, and you'll be just fine. People want to make much about Tim Hardaway's jumpers and Kyrie's being the legend that he is. That game was won by Derek Lively's offensive rebounds. That man, he had a stretch. We got like 4 offensive rebounds in one setting, in one set. And I mean, at that point, you have to get to a point where you have to take JV out the game. But if you take JV out the game, now you're shrinking the floor because you're putting Larry Nance in. So I would love it if we could figure out a way to get a skilled, athletic big just to back up JV. And I know that's going to do something for Larry Nance. And I know I love Larry Nance's minutes, but I really feel like just as much as we're vouching for them to become creative with Jordan Harkins minutes, I think they could do the same thing with the athletic big. I know, they Jacob's guy Trey Jemison is down in the G League, and they probably won't bring him up because the Pels have this stigma about their guys in the G League. They just send them there and just let them go unless they're like on legitimate guaranteed contracts. Don't really understand it, but here we are. But those are the two things I think we need personally: is a floor general and a athletic big. I think those two are the missing links to having, in my opinion, basically a complete team. Basically.
Yeah. An athletic rebounding big, I think, is the key. I think rebounding has been a problem forever. I can't even think of how many years now. I mean, the Zion era, whatever you want to call it. Like, and I'm not pointing fingers at him. I would love him to be a better rebounder. But when you have your wings who don't rebound, when you have your bigs who don't really rebound, like what can you do? When Josh Hart was one of your best rebounders and him leaving the team became a detriment to your rebounding, that's a problem. Like, there's no sexy way to fix that. There's some very uncomfortable conversations around that if you actually want to fix that, in my opinion. You talked about taking minutes from Larry or maybe potentially shipping certain folks out. Like, I don't think there's a good answer with what you have on hand. Clearly, we've seen the mindset is not there. So how do you fix that?
I don't even think it's just – go ahead.
The tough thing right now is, like, your really good tradable salaries are Jonas and Larry. Like, they're like $15 million a year, right? So those are your two really tradable salaries. And trading either one of them creates more problems unless you get somebody good back. And, right, like, you've got the young guys, obviously, that are on whatever to fill contracts. But, like, I don't know. I think that you're right that we do need more because, I mean, you're talking about, like, the streets is talking more or less. Like, the Pelicans want to sign Matt Ryan, right? He's going to get healthy, obviously, with the elbow surgery and everything, but they want to sign him to a deal, right? And I think it's very well known, very well reported on that they want Kyra Lewis to be employed elsewhere with another organization, right? I think that's pretty clear. And so with that, you really start to look around the league and you say, who fits that mold and who's looking to move somebody on that in that mold, right? Because at one time you could get somebody like JaVale McGee a little bit cheaper, right? But now, I mean, it's tough. It is tough to find those guys and not part because I think that the starting lineup needs a guy like Jonas who can, like the other night with Hawk, play really well when he needs to, kind of in a pinch. But and when Larry Nance is healthy, he's a really, really good option. But what is that going to look like? Obviously, of Larry and Jonas, I think Jonas is the one in my mind that probably gets moved simply because of his contract thing and the extension of the years that he wants, everything like that. So I don't know. It's tough. They're in a tough spot because even if you move Jonas, right, he's your top rebounder and he's at like 9.6 rebounds a game. That even, and if you move him, you've got nobody boxing out. I mean, you have nobody boxing out at all. It's a travesty.
I think that's pretty, but it depends on who you move him for, Jacob. Like if you move him for an individual who is not offensively dependent and it's just more of a shot blocker, run the floor, PNR, PN mid-range to maybe a set 3 pop guy, I think you can facilitate that relatively well. Especially, I mean, I brought up, and I didn't even think about this, like I didn't know Clint Capella was only 29 years old. Like I thought I think Clint Capella's been in the league since he was 18, I think, or something crazy like that, like or 19. So he's been in the league for a while. I thought he was like at least 31, 32, 33. His contract is not that hefty. And let me ask you a question more so than give you guys a statement. If I told you right now, you could pick up the phone and call Atlanta and say, hey, we'll take Clint Capella off of your hands plus a pick or something in exchange for JV. would you guys hang up the phone and say no way? Or would you say, what would you do knowing that JV's contract is completely expired?
I don't know. I'm sitting here like furiously looking up his stats in the last couple of seasons. Clint Capella feels so irrelevant in the last few years to me. I'm just like,
it's because he's in Atlanta playing with Trae Young and playing with DeJounte Murray, and plus he's been injured. Those are the three things that are attributing to his irrelevancy compared to playing in Houston with James Harden in the show, basically.
But this is DeJounte Murray, who you were just talking about. You would like to bring in as a backup off the bench.
Yeah,
and people have tried to connect Trae Young to the Pelicans for a while. Like, I know I haven't personally, but like if it's not happening there, why would it happen here? Is what I'm trying to. And then the lineups you're going to roll out. This is a whole nother thought I have.
Yeah,
like how our coach has shown not to throw shade at Willie, because Willie has been phenomenal the last couple of weeks here. I've shout out Willie. I've actually really appreciated a lot of things he's done. It's been difficult getting shooting on the floor. So if you take JV off, who's at least somewhat of a threat, then what?
I think you open up and this is, again, I always feel bad advocating for a JV trade, but it's like we only really have, like Jacob said, we only really have like 2 or 3 really tradable pieces that you're like, if you trade these guys, you wouldn't dip into the core of the team, but you still feel it if you did not bring back something. And I really feel like if you bring in Clint Capella, he scores all of his points off of putbacks, PNRs, and rolling. Where is Zion his best? Going downhill off of PNRs. Now imagine guarding Zion off the PNR, and Zion is a willing passer. He will throw the alley. So if 2 guys jump to Zion, and you got Clint Capella, who made his money off of PNRs, and he's developed a little bit of a mid-range, I like to think that in between game would be better. Whereas with JV and Zion running the PNR, it's become non-existent because they tried it and it was so bad that they're like, all right, this was cool for a second, but now this is just clunky because JV doesn't know where to roll. Like, he's rolling, but he's like running in concrete. Like, his feet can't get there fast enough, and it's like, so he's just forced to pop. And so I don't want to trade JV. But I feel like to fully facilitate the rest of the team, and you talked about shooting. Listen, you can never have enough shooting in this league, right? But we've got some dudes now. And with Matt Ryan coming back, we're going to have a bunch of dudes that can shoot it. And you're going to need somebody who can get their rebounds and kick it back out to them if they miss. And Zion is not that guy right now. And JV is that guy depending on who he's playing against. If it's an athletic big, count him out. But if it's somebody he could, fight with and tussle with, he might be able to grab the rebound with one hand. So that's why I like to believe a Clint Capella plus picks trade could be beneficial. I hate that I'm saying that, but I am. Jacob, am I crazy for saying that?
No, I think the thing that scares me about Clint Capella is he's got say Trae has his faults. Don't get me wrong, but like Trae is a guy that averages a lot of assists, right? He creates a lot of gravity on the court. And playing with a guy like that, like Clint Capella is always going to be in the dunker spot. He will always be there. You know that for a fact. And giving up a guy like Jonas who can move and actually be a threat, I think is the piece there. Because like even Larry Nance, like he hit some threes, but he still is not even the threat where people are shading towards him when Zion is driving, right? They shade more towards Zion than they do Larry Nance because it's one of those things like you'll live with that shot. You will live with a Larry Nance corner 3. Like, I love Larry, I love him to death, but like you will live with that. That's the poison you're going to pick in your defense, in your defensive meetings. And Clint Capella really moves that back because JV, like, I would say that teams respect JV from the 3-point line more than they respect Larry. And that's a really weird thing to say, especially how he played early in his career. But I think that moving a guy like that clogs the lane. Moving for a guy like that clogs the lane a little bit more. There's some bigs out there that you could go get if you were willing to pay the tax, but we're not. and we're not going to. Until this team gets a playoff run or a deep playoff run, we're just not going to.
Yeah.
Because
I just want to –
a really gross guy that would make contract stuff kind of weird, but that fits a hefty portion of your needs. It currently is employed by the Portland Trailblazers, and Jeremy Grant is a.
But that's not a center, though.
Yeah, he's your small ball center next to Zion.
You can't start. But you can't. But you're paying. So you're going to be paying a backup player's starter money to come in and play your small ball center, because they're not going to commit to small ball. Like, I don't think in any. So that's a lot of money to spend on a guy who's going to be.
That's what I said. It's a growth contract.
That's not even your sixth man, because he's not going to take Trey's minutes. So he'd be your seventh man off the bench type of situation. And then you have to figure out how to facilitate a team around 4 major contracts, because, Zion's making 30, CJ's making 30, BI's making 30, and he's making astronomical money. And just to throw this out there for you guys, Jonas is shooting 37% on 1.8 threes per game.
There you go.
Is that really moving you?
No. But
so it's like I think what you lose out on is 37.8%. But okay, I'm gonna give you guys. I want to give this to both of you guys. If I told you, hey, you'll lose a guy that'll shoot 37% a game, but he is a threat. He is a threat. But I can give you, I can add to your situation 5 offensive rebounds a game. Would you take it?
Well, you're not adding 5 offensive rebounds.
You're fudging the numbers, though. You're trying to trick me here, because I looked up my man's stats. He's getting 1 more rebound a game and like a half a block a game.
So, and I was rounding up. So I'm gonna add 2 more offensive rebounds a game. So you're going to lose 37% of 3-point capability, but you're going to gain 2 more offensive possessions a game. Would you take that?
I mean, maybe. But at the same time, like, I'm not so much worried about offensive rebounds. I need defensive rebounds. When we stop, I need that. I need more of that.
He'll give you that. He's averaging 11. I just checked the stats. He's averaging
10.5. Huh?
10 point. Wait a minute. I don't know where I'm at. There you go. Whatever you just said, I trust you. I think. I'm on JV's stats because I saw a 9. So 10.5.
JV's 9.5.
9.6. JV's 9.6. So you're getting more rebounds, and you're getting a guy who's a hustle guy, but who is a threat. Again, I feel disgusting comparing the two, but I just feel like for the current iteration of our team, it just makes, like, he's 29. His deal is up after next year, so you got him for 2 years locked up, and he's not. I don't know. I just feel I
get what you're saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get the mindset. We need someone that gives the potential of what he used to be. We need that. We need someone who is going to attack the boards. We need someone who's going to steal rebounds or at least box out and get the damn defensive rebounds. Like, we need that. Is he still that guy?
He's averaging 10.5 rebounds. I mean,
that's one more than Jonas. If you look back, like, he hasn't.
Go ahead.
He's trending downward.
I agree. I agree. Well, to be fair, he's it's weird because, like, he went from 10.8 to like 14, and then he went back to 10.5. So it's almost like he had this extreme high, and maybe could one submit to you that he might be settling in.
I mean, listen, there's a lot that goes into how you perform, right? Like, he could just be checked out. Like, he's just going through the motions, and maybe a change of scenery. Like, who knows? But I don't know what I'm willing to risk on that argument is the problem.
I agree. I'll give you that. I just feel like Go ahead, Jacob. Jacob,
I really do think that we have played this game a lot, right? We have played we're going to take the 28, 29, 30-year-old center, get him for 2 years, see how he fits with Zion. If he fits well, we'll extend him, right? We did it with Adams. We did it with JV. I don't want to do that again with Clint Capella. Just, like, straight up be honest with you. I'd rather get a guy who has some question marks, who's younger, that you can have more of an extended, like, timeline with, right?
The issue with that, though, is with that younger guy, that is going to be an uncontrolled anomaly that could potentially become the linchpin to your playoff hopes with a team that only gets older. So I know what you're doing. You're vouching for your guy Trey, and I respect it.
No, I'm not. That's not who I was thinking about at all.
Or okay, for a rookie or whoever it might be, if that guy's unproven, you are getting to that point. Bi is going to be 27 next year. So he's got about the prime of an NBA player is that 27, I think it was 28 to 32 is what I saw as actually the prime of their life. So he's getting into that prime spot. CJ's coming out of that prime spot. And then you got Zion, who was and I hate to say this, but it's just being true. We don't know on a night-to-night basis. We pray our way into the games and thank the Lord if he makes it out healthy. Just being honest, because we don't know. And so you have so many uncontrolled entities in one situation. The last thing you want to do is add one more and say, we're going to let that one more develop while these other things around still move uncontrollably. You know what I mean? Like if we were a younger team, I would 100% say 100% sure, let's do that. But because we are where we are at, it's almost like,
huh? Are we still? Are we good? Listen, I don't know if he froze, but just to put a bow on that, like I was looking through the top rebounders. Clint Capela's one of the top rebounders in the NBA right now. He's top 10. Yeah. I had no idea. Just based on the numbers, I was like, I don't know. But I mean, like, who knows? And there's other people that fit that mold, right? Like you have Nick Claxton potentially. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's a possibility. I know there was whispers in the past. Like I would love to see that. I really don't know, but what my gut tells me and what I've been trying not to say, even though I've kind of alluded to it, the problem lies with the other guys on the roster not rebounding. It's not necessarily JV.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It really does. You need a guard or a forward who is going to commit to that, and you need that person consistently, and that's why it's tough because like a guy like Herb, right? He's a guy that you would traditionally have that in that Josh Hart role where you're gonna go get the boards, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's gonna be you. I think Dyson could be that guy, like in the second unit. The attack the basket and try to get the ball for rebounds. But like Herb's game really has expanded past that, where he brings the ball up. He does a lot more on offense than I think even the front office really initially thought could happen or would happen. And so I think that across the board, you're right. You have to have guys that are willing to rebound. And a lot of times our upper echelon players don't want to commit to that. And that is the core of the issue.
I agree. I 100% agree. And I was trying not to be like bold takey and be like, do we just trade? Who are we trading? Which one of them we trading? Let's just call it out now. It is what it is. We don't have to keep going down the rabbit hole of, who do we trade? How do we fix the rebound
trade
situation?
Season, baby. Trade deadline's coming up.
We got to talk about that then. I mean, it's too late now. We've been going for 40 minutes. We got to do that next episode. Let's get a list of players we think the Pels should target. When is the trade deadline? February
8th.
February 8th? Mm-hmm. Hell yeah. So we got a couple weeks left, like 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. Let's do that. Dylan's jumping in back now. Let's see if he's got any final thoughts, and then we'll close this thing out. What up? Welcome back, my man.
My bad.
It's all good.
It's all good. Are we on final thoughts?
Yeah, I was about to say, let's close this thing out. If you got any final thoughts, you could wrap up your Pelicans thoughts if you want, and then we'll do our little fun, whatever the hell's on your mind.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel like I need to say this because people get aggressive. Let me tell you, my DMs get aggressive with the J. After I did that show last week with Dave, and I said we need to trade JV. There's some JV apologists out there that want all the smoke. So full disclosure, I love JV just like the next man. That sounded crazy, but anyway, I want to see our team be put in the best position to have that sustained success. I feel as though we saw something in Dallas that we will see a lot of come playoff time if we don't deal with it. Those are my final thoughts on what I was thinking about the situation as far as JV and whatnot, the trades we were having.
That's fair. I was telling Jacob too. It's trade season. I think next week, and we could talk about this offline. Let's get a list together of targets we want to go after, and let's just have some fun with it. Let's come in with some trade situations, see what happens. Outside of that, let's get some closing thoughts. Anything basketball related, outside of basketball, personal, whatever you want to talk about. Just hit me with something.
I think one of my favorite things I've heard recently, and it's like super old, but the idea of it's a quote, and I don't know who it's first attributed to, but comparison is the thief of joy is something that I've really, really latched onto here recently. That obviously all of us are in the content game one way or another. Check out Who Effing Knows podcast and all that Dylan writes in Home Court, because those guys are really awesome. But in this game, it can be really tough because you look around people who have been doing it longer, people who are doing it shorter. And one part of it is like you try to gain knowledge. You try to use others to be the best that you can be. But other times it can be really, really debilitating because you get into that comparison game, not only in this like content space, but in life, right? In work, in your relationships, in your families, whatever it is, like you can get in this spot where you're constantly comparing and never appreciating who you are, how talented and amazing and wonderful you are to yourself, to all the people that love and care that are around you. So I don't know, be content, be happy, be joyful in who you are, and the rest will work itself out.
Man, I love that. That's something I truthfully, I tell my kids that all the time too. I'm so glad to hear somebody else say it. That's amazing, man. Everybody, more people should think like that. I don't have anything as cool as that. I was going to talk about Tulane Green Wave again. I did it a couple weeks ago, but man, can we talk about it? The John Sumrall era has started strong. Listen, yeah, let's count them. How many 5-star recruits? I just want to throw some shade real quick too, if I can. Willie Fritz left, and one of the things he said after he left is one of the reasons he left Tulane is because you'll never get a 4- and 5-star recruit at Tulane. Not only did we get one, we got 3 in one day. So, maybe go talk to somebody else. Maybe you were the problem. Nah, it's a joke. Willie did it. Willie did a lot building the Green Wave program, and I appreciate it. Aside from that, things are looking good, man. We'll see where they go, but I'm excited about them, and I'll leave it at that.
I got 2 things. One, you brought up Tulane, so I got to bring up them Tigers down by the bayou. Oh, defense is back, baby. We got the final Infinity Stone, and now it's time to. It's time.
It's a solid snap. That's a snap right there. It's a dad snap.
Hey.
All right, that's all I was thinking.
Snap your finger. I mean, lean with it, rock with it. You had to snap your fingers. I got a lot of snapping practice. That's the first thing. Second thing, go right now, pick up your phone and text somebody and tell them you love them, because you never know when it's going to be the last time. And that's something I'm learning firsthand right now. You never know when it's going to be the last time you see someone, when it's going to be the last time that you get to have that laugh with them. It's not worth it to hold a grudge. It's exhausting. It's boring. And you lose time with someone that you could be doing life with. So just go pick up that phone. Let it go. Be the bigger person. And just say, man, I love you. Or girl, I love you. Whatever that looks like. Because I guarantee you, yes, it might feel weak in the moment, but over time you will thank yourself for that moment that you showed weakness, because your life will be better for it. Trust me. Pick up that phone right now. Stop. Matter of fact, turn off this pod. I'm doing something that I probably shouldn't even do. Turn off this pod. No, you got an iPhone because you think smart and you love the Lord and you're a good person. Turn off that or just swipe up and keep the podcast at the bottom left.
Keep it in the corner.
Keep it in the corner.
Keep it in the corner.
And go send that text and just say, man, I love you. And I promise you, you'll feel better, because you never know what tomorrow holds. That's all I got.
I love that. Positivity. Always preach positivity. Until next time, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We love everybody. Always good vibes. We out.